He posted this and said, "Would you make this trade?" Evidently, Dan Graziano, ESPN, has pitched out a wild Maxx Crosby trade. You have this? You don't have this, do you? The Raiders receive. I'm sorry, hold on. The Cowboys receive Maxx Crosby and a 26 second, number 36 overall.
Oh, is it going to be for both of our firsts?
For George Pickens and number 20. Quote, the Cowboys likely aren't going to fork over a long-term top-of-market deal for Pickens. So the Cowboys would get Maxx Crosby and this year's second-round pick.
Just 36.
Number 36. For George Pickens and a 26, this year's first-round pick, the number 20 pick overall. And, all right, I see you in there, Alec. You're gently stroking your beard.
Oh.
Kevin is now doing math because that's I did watch The Life of Chuck recently, and when Luke Skywalker...
Who told you to watch that movie?
You did. And when Luke Skywalker starts talking about how important math is, I was just like, that was a beautiful way that he did that discussion. It was really awesome. So there you go. Here's that again. I'll throw this out there.
Okay.
In this scenario, this is a trade proposal from Dan Graziano. Cowboys get Maxx Crosby and a 26 second round pick, number 36 overall. The Raiders get George Pickens and a first, which is the number 20 overall pick. Now, contract-wise, if you're not paying that money for Pickens, are you paying that money for Maxx Crosby?
So here is the thing about that. I was really hoping I was going to pull up Maxx Crosby's contract, and it was going to be loaded with a lot of bonus money and restructure money that we wouldn't have to eat. That is not the case. So the way they set this contract up, I think this is the last year with guaranteed money on it, but most of that guaranteed money passes along to you. So I believe his cap hit would be $30.7 million.
Okay. And you're paying, let's say Pickens.
About that.
I don't think he's going to play on the tag. I just don't think he's going to play on the tag.
RJ's going to be pumped.
Oh, because Canada scored?
With 35 seconds left in the game.
There's still enough time
to take a 3-2 lead.
Let's go, Miro.
I don't know if it was still in the power play, but they had a power play and they were bringing the heat. I don't know if that expired or not.
Here's why I'm not doing this. I know the math for you is the most important part. I don't think the Cowboys are going to. I don't think he's playing on the tag. I don't think they're going to come to an agreement for $28 million this year.
Okay.
So I think it's going to be a long-term deal. I would prefer a 3-year deal, but I understand how this thing goes. So I think it's going to be a long-term deal that the Cowboys can utilize to manipulate down the road. That's what my preference is actually going to be at this point. I would rather have the lethal offensive superstar on the field.
I get it.
And use my number ones to add to my defense. This is a loaded defensive draft. It's loaded in the first round. I think you have options. I'm not trading one of my ones to get a 2-back and this player. I'm just not comfortable with making that move.
Okay.
Because, Alec, you and I have been doing this study. I think at 20, you're going to have another player that's going to be a good player for you for a while.
Sure.
And so I've solved two things: making my offense even better by, or just as good by bringing Pickens back, and upping my defense by keeping my ones. I know they're rookies. I know rookies take time. I have a lot of faith in Christian Parker, maybe too much. So that's where I stand right now, is I would not make this trade. I would like to hear from the two of you guys.
Yeah, and somebody asked it, like, by breaking it down like this: would you trade Pickens for 36 and would you trade 20 for Crosby? And see, I think the second one I would be far more interested in, and I'm sure they're going to want more than that from Maxx Crosby, but I don't think a second round is good enough for Pickens. But I am intrigued that it's at the top of the second round. So you're right. I did nerd out and do a little bit of math. So trading down from 20 to 36, you said, right?
Yeah.
So essentially, like, if you were going to trade up to do that, it would cost you the number 55 pick.
So I'd have to give up 2 picks to get that anyway.
Theoretically, if you wanted to move up from 36 to 20, you would have to give up pick number 55. And Maxx Crosby is going to cost you about $30.7 million on the cap this year. The only reason I am kind of sort of extra intrigued by this is the fact that, and all of your arguments make sense to me, and I don't begrudge anybody who's like, don't do it. Maxx Crosby has no guaranteed money left after this year. Could you restructure that, add guaranteed money, and then squish that cap number low? That I'm intrigued.
He is a legitimate star defensive end. You add him to your team.
He's getting older.
He is.
We just said,
no, you're
don't
right.
Pay older pass rushers.
You're right. He is a legitimate stud pass rusher. From the 901, I like this from the 901. You can flip this team in a single offseason. Sign George, overpay some free agents, and hit on some draft picks.
You are preaching to the choir, and I feel like we've been aggressive.
Yeah,
to make
that's a
that
very
happen.
optimistic approach to everything, all those things going right, which that's why I'm doing it, is because I need those things to go right. Alec, you've watched Crosby, you've watched these players, you've watched George Pickens. What would your assessment be here?
I just have a tough time moving off of 20 at all, even if it is for Crosby, somebody that you know.
Even if it comes with 36?
I have a tough time just because, like Corey said, I think you are going to get a multi-year starter at 20 that is going to elevate the floor of your defense for years to come at a very cheap rate. So I'm penny pinching in a sense, but the reason I would listen to this offer is because I think there is a ton of receiver talent in this draft too. So I don't remember if it was Daniel Jeremiah or who it was. It was one of the big draft guys that said they had 17 wide receivers in their top 100 this year.
Wow.
Which I love the sound of that. So if you want to burn a second on a receiver, then you can probably find a Pickens replacement pretty quick. But that's the only way I would listen. I just have a tough time moving off of 20. I think you're getting a good defender at 20.
I think, and this is kind of one of the reasons Kevin Alec is saying this, with Peter Woods and TJ Parker, I think we're starting to hit that line of delineation with the talent and the separation. We have gotten now to, I told him earlier, I think next year I'm going to work from the middle up instead of the top down.
Okay.
Because now when I'm watching players, I'm like, yeah, they're good, but they're not that guy.
Okay.
And so we're starting to get to this point now where you're just like, they're good, but they're not Caleb Downs. They're not David Bailey. And so, it kind of wears down. Now, the thought there is, can I get a starter there for multiple years? I think so too. I would need another pick.
Yeah.
Coming my direction in a draft, in a round where I don't have a pick to make this valuable for me. So that's where I stand on this.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by the fact that you might be able to manipulate Maxx Crosby's contract. I really am. But, man, George Pickens is a humongous part of what made this team go.
From the 817, we can strike out on the number 20 pick. What if that happens? You still have George Pickens, and that offense is still very good.
Yeah. No, you're right. I think I do. I think I'm with you. I'm intrigued by it, but I'm also nervous about, we've talked about it. It's almost like, just like with a wide receiver, maybe around 30, pass rusher, maybe around 31, you're hitting that expiration date. And so I'll stick with it. I understand the logic behind it, but I think I'll stick with what we got.
682, if we're really honest, this front office has missed a lot at defensive players in the draft. Give me a proven commodities, even if they're older. My feeling, I appreciate the conversation there. My feeling is I think Christian Parker might have a little more say in what he wants on the defensive side of the ball this year. I'm putting a lot of faith in him to help the front office make those decisions. So I'm putting, again, maybe too much faith. And I think the proven commodities, even if they're older, are going to be the free agency additions, not necessarily the, what am I saying here? Like, that's where I think you're going to get those veterans.
Okay, and so...
And tie those with those rookies.
And from the 407, I don't agree with this at all. Pickens was inconsistent with his effort all season. I absolutely disagree with that so much. The one game that we pointed out, sure, maybe two, I would listen to that. But the idea that he was inconsistent with his effort all season, I don't agree with that at all. But I wanted to throw this out there, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. As we're in the middle of doing something really stupid in this Olympic hockey game right now. So Canada is going to win 3-2. But there was an issue where I think the issue was it looked like Finland took a slash at the Canadian goalie, and that almost led to a fight right as the buzzer's going off. Fine, it's a penalty against Finland. The game is over. Just let everybody go and move on. But apparently they're like, nope, there was 1.3 seconds left, and there's going to be another faceoff, which is interesting to me because that seems to completely ignore the Finnish slash of the Canadian goalie that almost led to a fight, and now it's officially over. Canada moves in.
I have 1.3 seconds left.
Well, let's see what happens.
It's over, Kevin.
Okay, so if the U.S. wins, you will get U.S.-Canada in the men's hockey final as well. One of the reasons I think this is coming up, right, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, it feels as though almost nobody thinks this George Pickens negotiation is going to go well. Right? Like you just
Unless
said,
the Cowboys say we're spending money.
I would love that.
Yeah,
but,
and if they did that quickly, then let's go.
But we're all afraid, right, that they're going to wait until the last second to even put a franchise tag on him officially, and then they're going to pretend like they've been negotiating this time. Well, guess what? You can put the franchise tag on the player and still negotiate him with. But, like, I think people are concerned. Is George Pickens actually going to play on the franchise tag 1 year for $28 million? And by the way, if you lock that in, you cannot manipulate that number. Then also, will George Pickens show up later in the season? Is the regular contract negotiation going to be a disaster because it's with the same agent that Micah Parsons had? I think so many people just kind of assume, and I will admit, I am worried about that as well, that this George Pickens negotiation is going to be a disaster. Right? And that's why this trade makes sense. This trade makes sense if you think the Cowboys are going to screw it up. And there's a lot of evidence to back you up on that.
Yeah, history has shown that they have the opportunity to do it.
Yes.
From the 817, this draft should be Ware Spears 2.0.
I hear you.
Can you do that?
Yeah, I think you can.
You did it when you had Parcells and
Absolutely,
Jerry.
I think you can.
I think that I have a lot of faith in Schottenheimer's vision for this thing right now. I think he gave the thumbs up to Eberflus because the Joneses were like, all right. And he was like, hey, look, this is Mike Maddox, right? What I always say about Mike Maddox, go do it your way. I'll do it your way. That's fine.
Yeah.
Now it didn't work. Now can you let me do it my way? Okay, let's go build a winner then. And I'm hoping that's the thing that happens here.